If you're in the market for a washing machine and a tumble dryer, and if you're not really sure which way to go, either as separate appliances like this washing machine and tumble dryer, or as a combined washer dryer like this, then what I've done is I've come up with some advantages and disadvantages of both ways of looking at it. Just before we start, all I'd normally say is please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just give us a quick subscribe, thumbs up. What I do is I talk about household appliances like these. I do specialise in cordless vacuum cleaners, and also there's normally a bit of tech in there as well. So just give us a quick subscribe, then we'll make a start. It is worth noting that clearly you can see there is quite a colour difference here. I've got one of the graphite tumble dryers, and if you are going to buy a matching washing machine and tumble dryer, and especially if they're going to sit next to each other, then you would get the matching colours. But on display here at the moment, although they're all hotpoint models, I've got the graphite tumble dryer here and the two polar white washer dryer and the washing machine. So I do apologise for that, because that sort of thing I would have liked to have had them matching. But anyway, so this list is in no particular order. There's not a huge number of things to consider, but I suppose one of the main things to look at is the space that you've got in your kitchen or laundry area, wherever your appliances are kept. So have a look at the space you've got. Have you got space for one appliance, or have you got space for two appliances? If the answer is you've got space for two appliances, normally it is recommended to go for them separate, but hopefully I'll cover some of the advantages and disadvantages throughout the video. But if you have only got space for one appliance, if you are in quite a, say, a small flatter apartment, and if you've only got space for one, like this, then it will normally be a better option to have the washing machine and the tumble dryer combined, because at least you've got some way of drying your clothes. I suppose the alternative is you could just buy the washing machine on its own, but then if you've not got any drying facilities, then it'll be a case of hanging clothes on radiators or in airing cupboards or on a clothes horse. There's different ways of doing it, but personally I'd always say if you have only got space for one appliance, then it is normally better to go for the washer dryer on its own. So anything else I mentioned now is normally geared towards that you've got the space for two appliances, but you're just choosing to go for one washer dryer appliance space. Hopefully I've made that clear. So I suppose now it's really talking about the capacity. So on all these three appliances, these are all 9 kilograms as far as the load sizes. When it comes to using a washing machine, there are a lot of programs that you can put the full 9 kilograms in, not all of them. That's something I always try and mention, to have a look at the instructions, although I'm not a huge fan of that. I normally try and work things out for myself. But have a look in the instructions, because only some of the programs you can put a full load in. But in theory, you've got the ability to wash 9 kilograms of washing in there, take that out, put that into the tumble dryer, and then after it's finished the program, you've got that 9 kilograms of tumble drying and washing done. With a washer dryer, it is a little bit different. So on this particular one, on this hotpoint model, then you can wash the full 9 kilogram washing as a full load, but then what you have to do is you have to take some of it out. You can only tumble dry 6 kilograms worth of it. Now that's something that, I'll be honest, is quite frustrating. I know customers, what they do is they rather than washing the full 9, taking some out, washing the 6, then what they'll do is they'll just have a 6 kilogram load and then go and wash and dry it all. And that's quite a disadvantage to the washer dryer, because it does mean that you are really limiting the amount that you can wash in one go. Also, piggybacking onto that, clearly if you've got the two separate items, then what you can do is you can wash a load in there, and then once you finish that, take it out, put that into the tumble dryer, and if you had a lot of washing, then you can put the next load on in the washing machine, so you've got a nice system going. With a washer dryer, it's going to take you a lot longer to do any of the washing and the drying. Not really because of the duration of the programs, I will cover that in a moment, but just because you can only do one thing at a time. So if you are a large family, if you're doing a lot of washing and drying, and if you have got space for two separate appliances, I certainly recommend getting them separate. The next thing to mention is the performance and the energy consumption of the appliances. Now you will find that each appliance will come with one of these. So this is a washer dryer, that's why it's got two sections on here. I'm not sure if I'm a little bit too far away, but if you are looking at the appliances, then just have a look at these, the energy labels, because what they do is they give you a huge amount of information. Things like at the top here, So it's got the overall energy rating that goes from A to G. It will also give you a guide as to the water consumption and the amount of energy that's consumed. But what you will find is overall, normally the washing side, so if you were just using them as washing machines on these two appliances, then there won't be a huge amount in it. Things like the performance, the amount of water that's consumed, and the actual performance of the wash between the two, just purely on the washing side, isn't too different. You could find there's a couple of litres in it, but overall they are pretty similar. As soon as you start combining the tumble drying side, then it is normally more energy efficient to go for a separate tumble dryer. The performance of the way they tumble dry, and it very much depends whether you're looking at a standard condenser dryer like this, or if you're going into the realms of a heat pump. Now this really, I suppose, a separate conversation, but in a nutshell, a heat pump tumble dryer is a lot more energy efficient. It does really depend on where it's going to be located. If it's going to be in a house, then I'd always recommend trying to go for a heat pump tumble dryer. What you'll find is they use less than half the energy of a standard condenser dryer like this. Just to give you an idea, so on this one, so this tumble dryer here, this is a B energy rating. So it's not too bad. On the face of it, it doesn't look too bad. That uses 616 kilowatt hours per annum. That's normally based on around 160 cycles, so that's not too bad. But you will find a heat pump tumble dryer will use normally around 250 kilowatt hour per annum, so it does use a lot less than this model. But that's something to consider, the things like the energy consumption between the models. But what you will find is that as you go over to the washer dryer, that they use a lot more water, especially when you get into the realms of the tumble drying side. So as I say, the actual washing side, things like litres, isn't too different. And what you'll find that some manufacturers will actually use water during the drying process to try and help dry the clothes. Now, I know it sounds a little bit odd. I won't go into it in too much detail, but I suppose one downside is it's using extra water that isn't really required. But that's the way that a lot of the systems work within washer dryers. So again, if you have got the space, then it's really recommended from a performance and especially energy point of view to go for the two separate items. Now for this next bit, I've just hopped over the machines here. I just want to show you the energy labels and some of the duration of the programs. Now forget the fact that in theory you can put the washing in here and then once it's finished put it in the tumble dryer. I know that's an advantage for these two guys anyway. But what I wanted to do is to show you the duration of the washes and how it can vary. So on the this is again, it's on the energy label. These are for these are for economical washes. So it's normally for the Eco 40 to 60 programs that are on here. This is where all the energy label is based on. But what you'll find is the wash time for this program is 3 hours 40 minutes. Now I know that's a long time, and clearly there are a lot of programs that you can do quicker than that, but that's what the energy label is based on. And on the tumble dryer, you're looking around, on average, well, 162 minutes per cycle. Again, that's what this is based on. So I suppose for a lot of people, you might not need it in for the full 162 minutes. That will normally vary. And just quickly, I always recommend going for a sensor dryer. The advantage with a sensor tumble dryer is that what it will do is it will actually sense when the clothes are dry, so it will switch off at the required time of how dry you want it. Personally, I think that's a huge advantage rather than the old manual time drying. We don't do many of those machines now. I think as the price of the sensor dryers have come down, then we do a lot more of those. And it is also to note that within the washer dryers that they do normally have the sensor dryer as well, so you don't have to worry about putting the manual time in. I suppose that's one advantage of having the washer dryer system as well. But when it comes to, just going back to the, I've gone off a little bit off course there, but if you have a look here, so for the washing side you will find it's 3 hours 40 minutes, but have a look over here, 9 hours 20 minutes, and that's when you put the clothes in. So it's normally for a load in this machine, in the washer dryer, and it will go through and do the washing and the drying, 9 hours 20 minutes. I must admit, when I first saw that, I did have to double check it, because if you're a busy family, 9 hours 20 minutes, that's almost one wash a day. And if you have got, say, 3 or 4 people in the household, and if you want to do a lot of washes, then for a lot of people that's not manageable. So that's just something I try and mention, because some people are not aware of the program times being that long. And again, on the washer dryer, it doesn't have to be a long program like that. That's just an example of the economical program, just to compare between the 3 appliances. Even on this machine, you have got quick washes where you can do, say, wash it in around an hour. And again, the tumble dryer, you could do it in around an hour, hour and a half. The next thing to consider is the installation of the appliances. Now, clearly, if you've only got one appliance, then you only need one plug socket, one water outlet, one water inlet pipe coming in. So as far as the installation, that's pretty simple. What you'll also find is that the way that the tumble dryer is used in this, you don't need a separate pipe or any other water outlet. All of the water and condensation and steam is just taken out through the waste hose through the appliance. So on the whole, that's pretty easy. As you go to these 2 appliances, it gets a little bit more involved. So on the washing machine, it is pretty much the same as the washer dryer, where you've got the mains plug, you've got the water outlet hose, then you've got the water inlet hose as well. As far as the tumble dryer, again, it very much depends on the type of tumble dryer that you go for. The majority of people now tend to go for some kind of condenser tumble dryer, and that's normally where the water will collect at the top here. And what you do is you just go and, when this is full, you just go and empty this out. There are a couple of other types that you can go for. I suppose when it's connected to a condenser dryer, then some machines will have a separate water outlet. It's like a very thin hose. That has quite a good advantage, that it doesn't have, you don't have to empty the container. What you can do is you can actually have the little water outlet hose connected into your waste outlet. So normally have it connected to the same waste outlet as your washing machine. The other type of tumble dryer are called vented tumble dryers. These are quite traditional. I suppose it's quite an old-fashioned way of tumble drying now. And what you find is you need a vent hose. It's normally say a 4 or 5 inch pipe connected to the back of the tumble dryer, and that would normally go out through a window or a wall outlet. I suppose a lot of people, if you've already got one of those, then some people lean towards going towards that system because it saves having to empty the water on the machine. But again, it's just the installation. It might be something to consider when you're looking at having one unit or 2 separate ones. Now, one of the final things to mention is really connected to the tumble dryer sides, and this is whether you have got the ability to tumble dry at a high heat and a low heat. Now, for a lot of people, if you're using a tumble dryer, you're thinking, well, that's pretty standard, isn't it? But the only reason I mention that, because quite a few washer dryers nowadays, you don't have the option to tumble dry at a low heat. I must say we've had that recently with a customer, and we did end up exchanging the appliance because that's really something that they wanted to do. They wanted to say wash and then tumble dry on a low heat. So it's just something to consider, because don't take it for granted that you have got the low heat option on a washer dryer. One of the final things to consider are the price of the appliances. Now, for some people, this could be the deciding factor, or it could be the only factor that they're looking at. Rather than performance or water or anything like that, the cost of buying the appliances could be the number one thing. At this time of recording, and I know prices do always vary, the washer dryer in its own is at £400. This tumble dryer, because it's quite a high spec hotpoint one, this is at £350, and then that's £330 for the washing machine. So although it's not quite double, you will find that buying them separate can work out to quite a bit more expensive. If you aren't looking into the realms of, I suppose, slightly higher brands, like the Bosch or Siemens, if you are looking into some of the higher appliances as well, things like the heat pump appliances, then that can make a big difference as to the cost difference. Next thing to look at is the maintenance and reliability on the appliances. You will find that things like tumble dryers, on a separate tumble dryer, if you open the door, then you will find you've got things like the fluff filter just at the front there, so that's quite easy to take care of. Things like the washing machine, you've normally got a filter at the bottom. But when it comes to the washer dryer, you've only got the filter at the bottom, so you don't have the option to get the fluff and lint out. That's normally taken out through the waste hose. Now for some people, I suppose especially if you're washing things like woolens, I know it sounds a bit odd to wash and especially to put them in the tumble dryer, but you've normally got the ability to do it on a lot of the appliances now. If you are washing these items, then you can get a lot of lint come out of it, or little bits of material, and over time it can start to have an impact on the machines. Clearly with separate appliances it's a lot easier to keep them clean, but when it comes to the washer dryer then it can be a little bit more difficult. Also reliability on the separate appliances. The main advantage of having them separate, as I've already mentioned, is that you can do the wash and then the tumble dry. So each appliance is doing one job. As you come over to the washer dryer, it's doing double the work. So in theory, you are using it twice as much, which in a nutshell is going to mean that it's not going to be as reliable. So if you're doing 100 washes each in these, for example, a year, then you might be doing 200 in this. So if it's reliability that is of a concern, then I would certainly look at having the separate appliances. So just to summarise, if you have got space for two separate appliances, and money isn't the key when you're first purchasing the appliances, then I would recommend going for the two separate ones. First of all, they're going to be more energy efficient. Things like reliability should be better. They will normally use less water and electricity. So overall, the performance reliability should be better. I always say should, because it's never guaranteed that they're going to last longer. Unless you go for machines that have a longer warranty, then that could be quite an advantage. If you only got space for one appliance, so if you do live in say a small flat or apartment, or if money is really the number one object, and if you need to get a washing machine and tumble dryer in one unit, then this could be the way to go. It's still going to be better than nothing. I'd always recommend, if you want to use a tumble dryer, and if you're really limited for space, then to have a washer dryer in one is normally the better option to look at. But I hope you enjoyed this quick video on the comparison between the two systems. All I'd normally do is say please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just give us a quick subscribe, thumbs up, and leave any comments below. I'm sure there might be things that I've missed when I'm comparing these. If I have missed something, then just pop it in the comments, or if you have got any questions, then again just pop it in the comments on any of these models, or things like washer dryers. If you've got any questions, then just pop it in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.